Okay, we went and got our engine out of the ZX9, the 98, with just some basic tools. Wasn't a big deal. Seen the other two videos, and if you're taking your engine out too, or maybe just doing your carbs, or changing your air filter, or just your plugs, obviously you don't have to go this far, but this bike had an issue. I'm going after the transmission, so this is what I got going on. This is what we're looking to get out of here. This is what we're looking to get done in this video. This is a donor motor with a blown motor, actually. I don't know if I showed this to you. Let me go around the back. I'll just jump on a table. Bottom of the crank came through. There's the bearing. I'm trying to get the piston down, is what I'm trying to do here. Alright. So, I'm probably going to try to rebuild this motor later. Like a project kind of thing. Not sure yet. And you can't believe how bad this transmission is. I mean, this thing is so beat to shit. Have you ever seen anything that bad? If we were going after some gears, or this transmission, maybe this whole lower end, to put on that motor, which is what we're going to do in this video. We're going to go ahead and split the cases on that one. Identical motors. I was hoping to get lucky, but, you know, it's unsalvageable. So if your bike's in neutral and you're giving high RPMs and you're hearing, you know, shit like this going on, or it's locking up, or even pulling forward, this is what it looks like inside. More than likely, this is the damage you got, or something similar to it. If this thing grabs out of place here and you're in neutral, or you're trying to, like, you know, stop at a light and say second or third, and you give it a little bit of gas and you have the clutch in, this thing will just catch, right? And just take off. I mean, your rear wheel could lock up. Real dangerous. So if you get a transmission issue and you think something's happening, you hear these similar things going on, you're missing teeth, man. And you got to replace it, and this is what you do. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get into this. We went through a couple things last night, checking some stuff out. I mean, they're beat, they're worn, but for what we were trying to do, I don't know. It's a shame. But we got to tear this one down. That's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to go ahead and rip the whole thing down the same way. I'm going to show you how I did it, the way you do it. And you split your own cases. You know, it's not a big deal. Some of the tools, basic stuff. Some impact sockets if you use a gun, which you don't have to. You can use breaker bars. I got a brass hammer. I like using brass. I got a rubber hammer with sand. That helps break the case loose and knock some of these covers off. Phillips head, flathead, pry bar. Don't want to use that too just very gingerly, but I like to have one on hand. You need some long wrenches here. The short ones ain't gonna work. Okay, or it isn't gonna work. To get these torque, man, these are pretty torqued on, so you're gonna have to use something longer. You can get away with this maybe with a backup bar or something, but you're better off getting good wrenches. I'd say 6-point sockets. The 12-point wrenches seem to work. I stripped one bolt, sorta, with a 12-point socket, which is sitting right here. So I went ahead and used 6 the rest of the time. Maybe you're running the same problem. We're gonna do a clutch removal. Being that we're going to be doing a clutch, I'll do a separate video on that, but it'll be included in this. I just skipped through it fast. Some of your bolts, packaging your bolts up good. Covers, I kind of isolated a few things, the way they're going back together. Like the starter, for instance, all the starter bolts, and some of the longer bolts that are different from the starter. Mounting bolts. So you got to be aware of what you're doing there. See, it's a different bolt, different length. Totally bag up the main case bolts that hold your bike together. I mean the cases together. The water pump, I got the bolts sitting in it. So I don't have to really worry, you know, we're not doing the top end. There's not a lot of bolts. You get the clutch set up, you got the charging system stator set up, you got the starter set up, and you got your actual main case bolt. So 4 or 5 different divisions here, and you should be good. All right, let's get started. First thing you got to set up some blocks, man. Support. See the other engine over there, how it's set up? Nice support. Okay, take the stator off, starter off, water pump. So this section of the engine, this side of the engine, is going to be its own separate little area. Okay, so that'll be like section 1. I'll go 1. You know, whatever parts I take off in this section here, I'll go ahead and keep in one spot and move to the clutch, and we'll do the same thing, and it'll end up looking like the other side, like you've seen in the other video. That's how I suggest you do whatever you want. But to me, it's just easier. Get some rags. You know it's drained. The oil pan's still on this, so there's going to be fucking oil in there. But each part you take off, more and more oil accumulates. I got these P-pad things that absorb oil, but I'm just going to use the nastiest rag I got and keep using it. Clear it down with something nicer, and then this is for the parts that need work. Keep a couple of rags. You don't got to use every one of them. Keep one super beater rag, like the baddest, nastiest one you got, and then just throw the fucker out. Or whatever. I wouldn't suggest pulling too many tools out of the bin. Take what you need, leave the rest in the fucking toolbox. You get too many tools going, then you're like all over the place. Number 8. Alright, I'm going to show you why we have to take that off, and then I'll do it for a couple other parts, but the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. You see how this bolt pattern crosses the plane? That's where we're going to be splitting it, so that's why this got to be taken off the cover. You'll run into that in a few different areas. The reason why this got to be taken off is these bolts that need to come out won't thread out all the way with this in the way. This one kind of gets out, this one you really can't get out, and this one you can't get out, so that's why this has to be removed. You got a dowel pin here, and you got a dowel pin here. There's a couple, you could kind of work that a little bit. There's just little tits that come out. And once you got it, you can kind of rock it off these dowel pins a little bit. Don't do this, you know what I'm saying? So you don't want to fuck up your surface area, your mating surface. Work it out a little bit. It'll come. Plus you got a magnet you're working with here. There you go. See, the dowel came out on this side, stayed in on this side. So go for the starter. Phillips head. Water pump hose. Clamp, just leave it on there. There's only 1 and 2 clamps are going to be taken off anyway. Swivel. Just for 1 bolt, it's kind of just a funny one. Loose. This top plate got to come off. In order to get the starter off, it's hitting this nut right here. It's hitting this surface. So we got to remove it. It's ready to come out though. We got it split already, separated. So Do those 4 bolts, and there's actually case bolts underneath there. There's a few more. I'll get to those in a minute. Let me take this out first. That's all it is. Stick your bolts back in. Put it off to the side. Don't flip them out like that. Then go ahead and do your starter. It's ready to go. Those are the clamps I was talking about. Starter bolts. Leave them in. If you're the only guy working, man, why not? Nobody's gonna fuck with it. Oh. Next we'll do the water pump. Ready? See, I got a longer one. Go ahead and stick it back in its position. It's a low position. I want to show you something real quick. See these little pins right here? They line up. So you don't lose them, pull them out. That one didn't want to come out. Just be aware when you put it back in. You have one here. This is a number 30 millimeter. Just a little bit. That's where you're going to get some oil. Stick that with your water pump. Swing this around on top. Phillips head screwdriver. You can leave that on there. Go ahead and do your rotor.